Hello, and welcome to Virtual PCT, brought to you by the Pullman Civic Theater. In times like these, when you may be cooped up in your homes, isolated from others, stories provide our only escape from the monotony. And that's where we come in. We begin our story. The crackling fire inside the cottage has died down, as Seth and the woman in black have passed the hours at the table. The woman has spoken many things of history, of struggle, and of great portent. It is well past the witching hour of night. Seth has said not a word. She has hardly breathed.
So you see, Seth, it is our family's duty. We women have been given this birthright by the stars. There is much evil in the world to fight. Your time has come.
The candle on the table flickers out. Seth blinks and rubs her arms. She stammers as though she is remembering how to speak.
Dad, just protecting us.
He was a simple man. He served his purpose. Now you have come of age, and I shall guide you.
You, my mother, Vladaria.
Yes, my child.
Seth stands to stoke the fire. She stumbles as she steps toward the hearth and rubs her leg.
Oh, wow. My leg's almost numb.
Seth looks about the cottage. She sees the front door and both windows have been closed. All the candles have gone out. The only faint light glows from the weak embers of the fire.
How long have we been talking?
She looks at her hand and realizes she still holds Rye's key.
Right! The tavern! She's in danger!
Yes, and now you're ready. You'll need this.
Vladaria stands and crosses to the sword on the wall, the blade of Seth's grandmother. Vladaria takes it, holding it as though it weighed no more than a stick of kindling. She moves to Seth and presents it to her, hilt first. She whispers something in a language Seth doesn't know, as Seth's arms move almost of its own will, grasping the sword. The weapon flashes with red and purple lights, bright as shining stars, burning engravings along its form, which in the next second disappears, and Seth feels power wash over her, like a hot spring bath on a snowy night. Her body quickens with energy, better than that from her father's best stew. Seth stares at her mother.
Your grandmother stands before me again, mighty and beautiful as Mount Katoa's fiery plume. Come now, let us find your sister and bring to ruin all who would impede us.
Seth nods and pockets the key. She looks at the sword once more.
Take this blessing. It will ensure my servants' cooperation.
Vladaria gestures towards Seth. Azure light crackles above Seth's head and dissipates. Vladaria then smiles at Seth and strides to the cottage door, flinging it open. Seth follows her out and doesn't notice the body of Quint has been removed.
Come, Torshnak.
A scaly, multi-limbed creature shimmers into Seth's periphery. She jumps and raises her sword. The creature's fangs gleam in the moonlight. Its eyes smolder murderous red-orange within glistening spheres black as pools beneath the ancient earth. It hisses, but remains still.
My servant, Torshnak, protected us while I prepared you. Lower your sword. He will not harm you so long as my blessing rests on you.
Ladaria utters something in a strange language to the creature Tershnak. It shimmers back into the starlit air, invisible. Seth hears only a low, growling hiss bleed into the wind as Tarshnik scurries to his master's bidding.
We shall go ahead of us. He shall go ahead of us. Now, let us away.
That thing had daggers on its belt. It can use weapons too?
Knives, bows, and other implements of discretion. I dare say his fangs have claimed as many lives as his armaments. His people make war as men make bread. He serves his purpose.
I don't know what you've gotten yourself into, Rai. Just hang on.
The women hasten down the cold earthen path towards the village center. They cross the bridge over the creek, past the small water mill and quiet farms, and soon as they crest a hill, they see smoke and flames rising from the small cluster of village buildings. Most of the blaze comes from the tavern at the end of the road, and they hear screams.
The tavern! Rai!
Seth and Vladoria dash ahead. A few villagers flee from the conflagration and people cry out.
How does this happen so quickly? Rai! Rai, where are you?
Seth continues to call out for her sister, and she stops one of the villagers.
Mrs. Hannes! What happened? Where?
Seth, look ahead. We are under attack.
A group of villagers flee from a band of robe assailants from the direction of the burning tavern. Many of the figures bear lit torches. Suddenly, Seth sees flames within the nearby smith's shop through the window. One of the robed men darts out, torch in hand, and tosses it inside. The man draws a sword and runs at Mrs. Hannes with a manic yell. Before Seth can stop it, the figure cuts down Mrs. Hannes as she tries to flee. The man then turns his hood towards Seth and runs at her, new blood glistening on his blade.
Mother!
Seth readies herself. She ducks under the swing of the man's weapon. She blocks a downward strike, the force of her assailant's blow feeling weaker than she expected. Could it be Vladaria's magic? The robed villain kicks her down. She sputters. As she moves to land a killing blow, she thrusts her sword up. Her arms move with alarming speed, and her weapon finds its mark, a half-second ahead of her attackers. The man groans and crumbles. Seth rises to her knees. She is lost in the sound, her neighbors' screams and clang of a few weapons, the increasing roar of fire all around.
Excellent. Now, get to your feet and to the tavern. Your sister may still be near, and others, too, yet live. Fight, girl, fight.
Ladaria helps Seth to her feet. Seth looks at her, her eyes welling up with fear, wonder, and sadness commingled.
I can't. I'm not a...
You can and you are, by the stars. Fear not. Tershnak will ensure no fatal harm befalls you. I shall go to the side and try to draw some of your enemies away. Fly now, for Rai's sake.
Seth wipes her eyes. She clenches her sword and wordlessly charges towards the burning tavern. She clumsily dispatches another villain as she disappears behind the building.
You may approach.
One of the robed figures steps out of a shadowed alley behind Vladaria. His robes are akin to the others, but bear verdant green trim and gold-embroidered symbols. His voice is soft and piercing, like glass crushed in velvet.
You are pleased, Countess?
You have brought the girl to the cave? She is unharmed?
Of course.
Is your acolyte prepared?
She knows her duty and her loyalty. She will tell your daughter what she needs to know. And to the matter of our reward.
Worry not. When we've completed our encounter with your people at the cave and returned their key, and my daughter has been finally convinced, you may then arrange with my servant Tershnak for your reward. At that time, and not before, will the gems of Alaka be yours for your pitiful rituals.
Of course, my countess.
And if treachery occurs, your suffering will know no end. Do not cross me.
Perish the thought, my lady, and may it never stain my mind under your eternal reign.
Vladaria draws her sword. Ignatito takes a step back.
Finish here and get back to the cave. Take whatever you will, but you must ensure everything is destroyed. Leave no soul alive. There must be nothing left.
Your will, my hands, countess.
And bring me one of your men. I must make this convincing.
Ignatio brings one of his robed lackeys before Vladaria, and moves back into the shadows. The man stands still. Vladaria puts her hand on his head and speaks a dark, guttural utterance. Red tendrils of power oscillate along the man's head and shoulders. Soon the man groans in pain, and two other figures emerge from him, appearing on either side of him, bursting forth from the grim energy encircling his body. Vladaria waits, her sword drawn. Seth appears at some distance away. Soot and blood soil cover her clothes, hands, and face. The three figures bear down on Vladaria.
Mother!
Vladaria dispatches each of the figures before her. She shoves them off and wipes her blade and then sheaves it. Their bodies crackle and pulse with ruby lightning.
Your magic!
Yes, child. I'm fine. Did you find your sister?
No, I looked everywhere. The roof collapsed, but I found someone else.
Who? Who did you find?
One of them. A woman. She attacked me, but I was able to knock her down. A beam fell between us and I pinned her. The fire looked to take her, so I told her I'd bring her quick mercy if she'd tell me where Rai was and why they attacked us. She said...
Yes, what is it?
I almost don't believe it. She said they were trying to get their key back. Their key to their treasure vault inside their cave. She said they captured Rai because they thought she had it. That cave, the skeleton, it couldn't be all the same, could it?
I am not familiar with these attackers or of this cave, my daughter, but I dare say we have naught else to direct our efforts. We must assume the truth of it and make haste. Do you remember the way?
I will never forget it.
Then let us fly. There may yet be hope.
What of the people? The fires? I can't just leave them.
I rallied a few of them while you were away. They muster now to bring water from the mill. See, the robed villains have gone. Let these folks manage themselves as they know best. We can do no other good but to run to your sister's aid. Now come.
As the flames singe the sky, Seth and Vladaria make their way for the cave, a fair distance away.
Please be all right, Rai. Hang on. Don't worry. I'm coming to kill all those spiders!
The story you have just heard was The Adventurers, Part 3 by Matt Maw, featuring KRISTIN Lincoln as the narrator, LACEN WORKMAN as Seth, DESIREE GOULD as Vladaria, and Matt Maw as Ignatito. Special thanks to Mike Long, our Foley artist, who put together all the sounds, and KRISTIN Lincoln for editing the video. The story was part 3 of our series entitled The Adventurers. If you missed part 1 and 2 of our story of Rye and Seth, make sure to visit our YouTube channel or on our website. I hope we were able to give you an interesting escape from your daily life. If you enjoyed this, please consider donating to PCT at www.pullmancivictheater.org. Thank you for joining Virtual PCT. Good night.